Alright, so this video will show you how to get set up for your 1-point perspective room project, and then I'll have a time lapse of me working on my project just so you can see how I do it. Alright, so on this one I have graph paper I think I'm going to use. It's like got a little spill on it, but it'll be fine. Again, you can also use binder paper if you only have that. Maybe do horizontal and just fill the space. Okay, so whatever paper, even if you just have blank drawing paper, printer paper, that's fine too. So try to fill the entire space, all right? And remember from video 1, I pointed out some resources. So if you're doing the room, there is a printable thing you can download from the Student Art Guide link, and it has like a grid already made for you with a box for the room. So also, remember last week we did our thumbnail sketches and our rough draft. So get those out if you don't have them. You can pause the video and find them if you didn't have them yet. The reason why, it's good to remember like your thought process. So I started with kind of this rough idea, and then I sort of developed it into this more weird looking room. Alright, so I'm going to try to draw something similar to this on a more finalized version. So with our room, excuse me, what you want to do to find your sort of horizontal axis, I like to make an X first to kind of give myself the vanishing point. Because rooms, they have a horizon line, but it's a little bit more hidden as opposed to like the street scene. So if you actually watch my street scene video, you can see I did this also. You don't have to, you could also just do a horizon and a vanishing point, but the X will help you kind of get like a nice center point. It'll also start building your walls. Okay, so you want to start with an X, and then to make your walls, this is my vanishing point. I want my ceiling to be a little bit smaller, so I think I'll put my wall up higher. Okay, and you can adjust. I mean, I've seen other versions where you don't do an X, but you kind of just start with like a box here, and then maybe you want your room looking more like this way. Okay, so basically wherever your back wall is where the vanishing point's center will be. I don't have to adjust my lines, and I actually just might change my mind because that's a little bit easier. So part of drawing is changing your mind sometimes like that. But the reason why I think this might be a little bit easier is because it already touches the X that I made, and therefore I won't have to erase those lines necessarily. Okay, so that's also why we start with pencil, so we can erase the other lines. Okay, so this is my back wall now. That's what I've decided. Alright, so to get set up, right, I have, and then my horizon line would basically be right here. There's my vanishing point. Here's my back wall. And then this will be the ceiling, this will be the ground, and then this will be the sides of the walls. So I'm going to start with a window just because that's kind of a little bit easier. And again, with the grid paper, it's a little bit easier to find those straight lines. So I'm going to put my window like here. You can always decide how big you want it. Maybe it's going to go out to here. You can always go off the page too, whatever you like. So remember, when you're drawing any object, the lines always go back, the construction lines that is, always go back to the vanishing point. And that's why having a straight edge or a ruler really helps you connect the points to be more accurate. So I'm gonna draw this in. Okay. And then there's my window. So I just want to point out something here. So I'm going to draw this floor. I just use the grid grid to help me measure the things. You can use a ruler if you want them spaced out the same length, so I'd make about an inch or so. And then remember, each connecting point goes back to the vanishing point. However, this is where the room ends, right? This is the back wall, so you're going to actually erase the lines right there, as you saw I did in the time-lapse part. Okay, and then to find the center of things, this is also on the student guide video as well, or one of the videos. But you're gonna draw a diagonal, and this will help you figure out kind of like where your horizontal lines need to be. So everywhere my diagonal line hits one of those lines, this is sort of where I'm gonna draw my floor. This is if you wanted a checkerboard floor. If you don't have to do this, but this is just a good tip to make it look fairly accurate. And sorry if the blue lines are confusing you, but I am just drawing a horizontal line everywhere I intersect the diagonal with the floor lines that I started. And then one thing too I wanted to point out with the window, to figure out like where the center is, you also can draw a diagonal, so from one corner to another. And then I just draw an X. This is a good way to find your center point when something is in perspective, because it's going to be a little bit off than you think. So right here, where my X meets in the middle, that's actually going to be the middle of the window. So I'm going to draw a line right here. So this could be like a window that opens up, a sliding window, or if you want kind of like a classic X window, remember to draw your horizontal line though in line with the vanishing point right in the middle there. Okay. I just wanted to point out a few things too. When you draw furniture, it can be really tough. Like a couch, for example, if you saw me with the time-lapse video, kind of just sketch it out. Since I did the floor lines already, that really helps guide the lines that you'll need. So I was kind of just using the floor lines to guide the shape of it. Start with kind of a big box, and then it sort of rounds, right? Like how a couch is. My recommendation is to look at pictures or your own couch if you have one, for like a reference, or if you just want to do a chair, right? You could do something more simple with like just squared off, like an L shape. And with the table, for example, too, it's straight on almost, like right in the center, so it's gonna look narrower back here than here. Remember, like when we practice with the box exercise, you draw just a rectangle straight, and then you connect the top lines to the vanishing point. And then that's the edge, and then this will be the back part of it. And then I don't need these lines anymore. But to kind of make it look like open, you're gonna do some horizontal lines as well. So maybe you want to put one here to give it that effect. And then this would be like the back corner. So if I drew it in lightly, so you could imagine seeing the back panel, and then there will be lines lined up like this if you had shelves, so it would mirror that one, and then they would go to the vanishing point. So maybe I'll put like a couple shelves inside my bookcase, maybe just like one more up here. rough drawing. I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna outline it now, and then I'm gonna erase the pencil marks I don't need. So if you don't have a pen or marker to outline, you can use your pencil. Just darken all of the lines you want to keep, and then go back and erase the ones that you don't need, right? It's just easier with a pen or a marker, because then you can just erase all the pencil. After that, I'm gonna add a little bit of shading and color, so I'll show you what that looks like. Now, so I have all the outlines. Now to make it easier to erase, you can tell too, I was gonna do checkerboard floor, but I think I'm just gonna keep it more like a hardwood. If you want to do the checkerboard, again, you'll just come in wherever that diagonal was and do the outline, and then fill in every other box. But yeah, I think I kind of like it like this. And once you maybe noticed too, I actually outlined the floorboards after everything, even though that was the first thing that I drew, just because you can see where it gets cut off by the furniture that's on the ground now. So outlining just really helps your eye know exactly where everything is. Alright, so go ahead now, once you're at this step, just erase all of your pencil line. You could keep some if you're shading, but I'm gonna go ahead and erase it for now. So some of you might just have a pencil, right, and you're just adding some value, shading. Remember, it's gonna be darker towards the back of the room, so shade it just kind of like maybe definitely where the edges of the floor are, of the ceiling, of the walls. You can keep this wall, the back wall, bright if you want. It's kind of up to your artistic taste. But definitely like where the floor meets the walls, you're gonna want to shade a little bit to give it some depth. Like if you have a furniture, a couch or something, definitely where the couch cushions are, right? Those are gonna be shaded. And then wherever something is sitting on, right? So the table, there's gonna be a little bit of shading underneath this book, probably under the table, there's gonna be some shading. Pay attention to your own thinking as far as like, what did you change from your original idea? So for me, as I was working, I was like, oh, I'm not actually gonna do a checkerboard floor, I don't want to anymore. And that's okay. So think about how your rough draft evolved into your final, and even as you're working on it, you change your mind sometimes, and that's okay. It's part of creating art and figuring things out as you go, even if it doesn't go exactly according to your plan. But it's more of like a guiding point, right? So go ahead and shade if you just have pencil. If you have color, like I have some color pencils, I'll probably add some color as well. So that's pretty much it. All right, so add value or color, and make sure to upload a picture of it when you're finished. So I'm just gonna finish this video with a time lapse of me doing my final touches, and have fun making yours. Looking forward to seeing it.